welcome them as well. So welcome to our first virtual Earth Day event for the city of Richmond Hill. Virtual, obviously we know why it's virtual. The name of it, Growing Green, Actions for a Sustainable City, that was chosen deliberately, very deliberately, because we know as a city we're growing. We know at the same time that we have to continue with our sort of the greening work we've been doing. And what we wanted to do really tonight was to focus on the actions that are involved in that. So we know there's lots of plans, there's lots of discussion, there's lots of viewpoints. And you'll hear some of that tonight, but we really want this to be about the actions that we have been taking, that we're going to take, and the actions that you can take as a resident within your community. So I believe, I'm just going to check here. Everyone who's here tonight is a VIP, as far as I'm concerned. We have some VVIPs who have counselor in front of their name. Let me just check our attendee list. So I do see we have Ward 4 Councillor David West on the call. And keep going down here. And I apologize if I miss anyone. Okay, because I know there was a bunch of people registered who aren't on yet. In any case, we appreciate Councillor West, you joining us, and any other councillors who do make it on if I didn't get you. All right, so let me first try sharing my screen now. Let's see if I can handle that. All right, so you should see our title screen there. And let me just guide you through our agenda. So I should introduce myself. My name is Miles O'Brien. I'm the city's Environmental Education and Engagement Coordinator, and I'll be the host tonight. So myself and my colleague, Kristen Bates, who you may see on the screen there, she's our Sustainability Coordinator. We'll be kind of setting up the context of Richmond Hill's environmental goals, the directions, the approaches. After we get through that, we have some more colleagues who are going to focus on some of the more kind of specific areas and talk about the actions that we've been taking in those kind of focus areas and how those actions are really helping us to achieve the goals. So we'll have Julius Lindsay, our Program Manager for Climate Change and Sustainable Development, talking about climate change, what we're doing there. Bridget Mitchell, who's our Waste Management Coordinator, will be talking about waste reduction and waste management. And then we have Krista Lynn and Diana Shermet, our Natural Environment Coordinators, who will be talking about stewardship and our urban forest and some related matters. We're also very glad to have some of our community members sharing how they've taken action locally. And I can't really emphasize enough how important it is to have community members stepping up and taking action. So we're grateful that they're playing a part tonight, but also playing a part in the community. So we'll have Carrie Tai, a presentation she's doing about her Neighbors for the Planet group. We have Kathleen Wong from the Blue Dot group. And we also have two youth groups. So one is called Making Waves. They've put together a climate change podcast where they've interviewed people in Richmond Hill about climate change. And that's through a partnership that Richmond Hill is a part of with something called Youth Challenge International. And that organization has put together these climate youth teams across the GTA. And lastly, we have our very own Baby Secondary School Eco Team, a presentation they're going to give about an innovative way that they've tried to address or raise awareness about climate change and the environment at their school. There will be a 5-minute break around 7:45, and hopefully we get through what we need to get through in good time, and we'll get everyone out at the time promised. Okay, so just a few details about the webinar. So it is being recorded. That's really just so, well, for me, so I can go back and see, did I really say that? But more importantly, for people who may have registered or who wanted to register who were not able to view it tonight, to give them a chance to view it at a later time. The participants in the webinar are the people that you can see and hear. If you registered and you're an attendee, that means that your video and audio is not enabled, but you can submit comments and questions using the chat or the question and answer function. And we will do our best to address questions through the webinar. There will be a Q&A session after each of the staff presentations. And because of time, we'll probably just choose a couple of the questions, address those, but certainly we'll try to answer any questions that come up either through the through the chat or the Q&A function, or if necessary, after post-event through email. There will be a couple of polls and games, if I can figure out the technology on that, and there are prizes for the games. Unless you have a richmondhill.ca email, then you won't be winning any of the prizes. Apologies there. There is also, if you've registered, you are automatically entered in our draw prize for a Healthy Yards gift pack worth about $100. So that's exciting, and I'll announce that at the end. And following the event, I will be sending out kind of a summary sheet of some of the tips and the actions and the resources that we talk about tonight. And hopefully that'll help either for you to take some action on your own, or to inspire others to take action. All right, so the first thing I'd like to try is one of these polls. And what we're going to do tonight is use something called menti.com. So that's something where you'll actually have to go on to either a phone or a different device, or open just a separate tab in on your computer. And when you go to menti.com, you'll have to enter in the code that you see there, 7324-7387. So I'll give everyone a minute to do that. Hopefully that's not too complicated. And then I will try to share the screen. And all I'm looking for here, let me see about sharing that screen now. Okay, there we are. Okay, so you should see the same kind of screen here. And what I'm looking for are for people to enter 1, 2, 3 words or terms that basically you feel are important foundations for sustainability. So what are the things that we need to be feeling, thinking about, knowing, or believing, to really get us towards sustainability? So as you type those in, you should start to see those appear on the screen. And I'm seeing some great ones come up here. Practical for sure, conservation, thinking outside the box, stewardship. Beautiful. Life cycle. This is fascinating. Okay, a lot of great terms in there. I'll just give it about 10 more seconds. Okay, excellent. Well, that's fantastic. And I'm going to stop it there. I will be sharing out this word cloud after the event as well, so you can all have a copy of that. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for that. Now, let me get back to my other presentation. All right. Okay, so quickly, let me just give a bit of context, as I mentioned, about Earth Day in Richmond Hill, and sort of what we've been up to and how things may have changed and evolved. So Earth Day, first celebrated on April 22nd, 1970. So that's just over 50 years. Have we made progress in those 50 years? Well, there's definitely new protections that have come along for water, air, land, wildlife, etc., that weren't there before. So that there's definitely progress there. There's technology for sure that that's helping us to actually maybe protect some of these spheres, such as renewable energy. There's social norms such as recycling and a whole slew of others that might not have been there before. So for sure there's progress, but we know at the same time there are threats. Global warming, which we now really term climate change, which we know is really only increasing in in the type of threat that it is. And along with that, alongside that, we have our ecosystems that are being degraded and a loss of biodiversity. And of course, you could go on and on. So the need for Earth Day certainly has not diminished and perhaps has only increased, but I think we've made some progress, and that's really where we want to focus tonight, right? How can we keep going forward in Richmond Hill? So Richmond Hill itself, this goes back more than 50 years, but as we know, Richmond Hill was largely farmland, really evolved into a suburb, and is evolving more into kind of an urban center and a city. So things have changed. Again, things have also changed on the protection side. So we have our Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Act. So lands within Richmond Hill that are protected, that are designated, and that we continue to take care of in that way. So certainly there's been progress. Certainly there are challenges ahead. I'll stop talking now because I really want my colleagues and our community members to share how they have been, what they have been working on and how they have been getting into some of these issues. And again, let's really pay attention to those actions that we can take and that hopefully you can be inspired to take to work on some of these issues. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn this over to my colleague, Kristen. See if I can figure this out here. There we are. And I'll hand it to you, Kristen, to talk about our environment strategy in Richmond Hill.
Great, thanks so much, Miles. Can you see my presentation? Perfect. All right, well, sorry, I'm just gonna deal with this here. Thanks so much for coming tonight. As Miles said, my name is Kristen Bates, and I am the city's sustainability coordinator. I've been with the city for about 6 years or so in various roles, but in my current role as sustainability coordinator, I'm responsible for overseeing the city's higher level, broad scale, strategic environmental and sustainability related initiatives with a particular focus on developing, implementing, and tracking progress of the city's environment strategy, Greening the Hill, Our Community, Our Future. You can see the logo up in the top right. So in my presentation this evening, I'll be fairly brief, but I just wanted to take an opportunity to share some of the ways that Richmond Hill has been taking environmental action towards becoming a more sustainable community. All right, so how do we green the hill in Richmond Hill? Starting from the top, the city has an environmental policy which serves as a sort of corporate guiding policy that contains our vision, our mission, and our commitments to becoming a greener community. That policy is a foundational document that has helped inform the development of the city's environment strategy, Greening the Hill, Our Community, Our Future, which was approved by council in April 2014 with extensive input from the community and stakeholder groups. The environment strategy outlines environmental goals, objectives, and a whole suite of various actions to help make Richmond Hill a more environmentally sustainable community over a 15-year time period. The strategy itself is currently divided into 3 focus areas: our air, our water and our land, focusing on the areas that we want to protect in Richmond Hill, and is also then subdivided into sub-focus areas, including sustainable energy, sustainable transportation, watershed management, surface and stormwater quality and quantity, groundwater protection, recharge and discharge, water conservation, sustainable land development, invasive species, sustainable urban agriculture and local food, natural environment management, wildlife management, and solid waste management. So together, those various areas have their own goals, objectives, and actions that the city and the community will take together to help improve our environment over a 15-year time period. An important component of all of this, however, is not just having the actual strategy and saying that we will be doing these actions. It's actually implementing the strategy and tracking our progress. And I'm happy to say that we've certainly been walking the talk and talking the walk. So far, since the strategy was approved in 2014, we have initiated 55 different actions, and 78% of those actions are either completed or are considered ongoing implementation actions that take place on an annual basis, and then the remaining 22% are underway. This progress from our end is important to be sharing with council and the community to help keep us on track and to continue to build momentum for implementing the strategy. We prepare accomplishment sheets each year and release those alongside our report to council to the community as well, that highlight key achievements from implementing the strategy from that particular year. Those are available on the city's website, by the way, at richmondhill.ca/environment. I did want to take a quick second, though, to acknowledge some of the key achievements that have taken place over the past 6 or so years of environment strategy implementation. And some of my colleagues will be talking about some of these initiatives, but I did want to take a second to highlight a few. You guys are free to read the screen as I speak, but I'll point out a couple in particular. Our community stewardship program since 2015 has planted over 64,000 trees and shrubs. There have been significant enhancements of our stormwater management facilities in valley lands, especially in South Richvale and Elgin Mills Greenway, which have helped reduce erosion and help protect our streams. The LED conversion project, which saw a conversion of our street, park, and parking lot lights to LED, has resulted in approximately $650,000 in annual cost savings, as well as greenhouse gas emission reductions equivalent to taking about 35 cars off Ontario roads each year. In addition to that, there's been significant progress made in expanding our cycling and walking infrastructure. If you're familiar with the lake-to-lake cycling route, which is runs along Leslie Street, starting at Highway 7 and now up to Elgin Mills, more than 13 kilometers of this route has been completed over the past several years, the past 4 or 5 years, which is an important accomplishment. And then I will also flag that our community energy and emissions plan, which my colleague Julius will be speaking about, is reaching finalization and has already won several awards for the Resilient Richmond Hill engagement campaign that I know many of you on the call tonight have been a part of. So those are some accomplishments that I wanted to highlight, just a few. But I'll move on as well to talk about another way that we've been tracking progress for the environment strategy, and that is through our environmental scorecard. So earlier this year, we released the city's first environmental scorecard. We've been tracking progress since 2015 on a series of different indicators so that we could provide a concise and public-friendly snapshot of environmental progress and achievements in Richmond Hill from 2015 to 2019. The scorecard itself explores 8 different topics across 3 areas of action, focusing on how we green our consumption, green our natural spaces, and green our growth. I'm going to just play a quick little clip to give you guys a bit of a glimpse of what the scorecard contains, but it is also available on our website, which I will highlight in just a moment. richmondhill.ca/environment is where you can find the scorecard. We do also have hard copies that will be available at public events that we attend once we're able to attend public events again. And I would like to just quickly highlight some of the key findings from the scorecard. Under our greening our consumption area, we have, through the data analysis, recognized that corporate energy use and greenhouse gas emissions have declined in Richmond Hill. Our community energy use and greenhouse gas emissions have increased slightly, but through the community energy and emissions plan, we aim to be tackling that. Corporate and community water use have both declined. Community waste generation and diversion have remained stable. In terms of greening our natural spaces, urban forest canopy in Richmond Hill has increased. Native plant and wildlife species have increased. In terms of water quality in Lake Wilcox, phosphorus levels have declined, although chloride levels have increased. And community gardens in Richmond Hill have flourished with a significant increase in the number of community gardeners since the city released its community garden policy. And then finally, in terms of greening our growth, our performance ratings through the sustainability metrics program at the city have remained relatively stable, but that program has recently been updated and we're hoping to increase those ratings over time and to increase the level of sustainability of development in Richmond Hill. And also in terms of sustainable transportation, sustainable commute modes or modes of travel to work have remained relatively stable, but our length of trails, cycling infrastructure and sidewalks have all increased significantly since 2015. Again, check out richmondhill.ca/environment to view the full scorecard, but hopefully this helps provide a little bit more information. Moving on, building upon the results of the scorecard, as well as the positive momentum from the first phase of strategy implementation, we will be undertaking an update to our environment strategy this year, and that is already underway. The purpose of the update is twofold, really, essentially to ensure that we're meeting our council commitment to update the strategy at regular intervals, and that was built into the strategy itself when it was first approved to ensure that we're continually growing and improving as the strategy is implemented. But we also want to use this as an opportunity to reflect emerging issues and incorporate current trends and new priorities so that the strategy, again, remains current and relevant to our context in Richmond Hill. Finalization of the updated strategy is expected in 2022. But of course, we can't do it without you, and we definitely want to hear from the community as we update the strategy. We'll be launching consultation for the strategy update this summer. We will be launching a community survey in June, towards the end of June, where we will be requesting feedback on our proposed approach and opportunities for new actions. Towards the end of September, we'll also be hosting community workshops to, again, request feedback on more specific actions and key directions for the strategy update. If you are interested in participating in those consultations, which I hope you are, but if you are, we definitely want to hear from you. So you can subscribe to the webpage richmondhill.ca/greening. There's an area at the bottom of the webpage where you can hit subscribe and you'll receive notifications if that page is updated with information about the consultation, or you can simply email us at greeningthehill@richmondhill.ca to be added to our mailing list, and we'll make sure that you're kept in the loop. Before I wrap up, I did want to end with a couple of practical tips in case you're sitting here thinking, okay, great, I will help provide feedback on the strategy and those consultations, but what can I do right now? And so I have a few tips here. I've narrowed in on some waste-related tips, but my colleagues will be providing some other tips of their own as well. One way that you can help green the hill right now in your homes is to help reduce food waste. You can consider regrowing veggie scraps, such as green onions. If you cut off the tops, place them in water, or save your veggie scraps to use in soups and stock. Also, consider backyard composting. We offer backyard composters through the Healthy Yards program, or if you live in a condo or apartment and you don't have very much space, consider vermicomposting or worm composting, which is a totally safe way to take your food scraps and convert them into usable compost that can be used for your plants, or if you have a little balcony garden, very helpful. Another way that you can help green the hill is to consider shopping at zero or low waste stores. There's a great store in Newmarket called Earth Market where you can bring your own container for pantry staples, laundry detergent, cleaning products, hair care, skin care, hygiene items, etc. And avoid plastic or packaging waste by filling your own containers. It also often ends up saving money in doing this. The prices are pretty reasonable. And if you are interested in saving a buck here or there, another great way to do so while greening your own home is to consider upcycling household items into reusable items. For example, if you take old clothing or scrap fabric, you can convert them into reusable dry mop pads, just simply sewing around the edge, using them on your, say you have a Swiffer, use them on that, throw them in the in the washing machine and reuse them over and over again instead of having to buy new and keep throwing Swiffer pads out. And another great way to avoid single-use cutlery is to make sure that you have your own with you when you're out and about. And I know some people have their own little reusable cutlery sets, and that's great, but if you don't have one, they're super easy to make yourself, and I guarantee you have everything you need at home. So I'm just going to play this quick little video to demonstrate how you can do that yourself. If I can get it. All you need is a cloth napkin, your utensils of choice, and a hair tie, and you're good to go. And with that, that's it for me. Thanks again for your attention and for listening today. Again, my name is Kristen, and if you have any questions, we can chat on the webinar here tonight, or you can send an email to greeningthehill@richmondhill.ca. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Kristen. So hopefully that was between my very brief introduction and Kristen's more in-depth look into what we do in Richmond Hill kind of strategically. That provides a bit of a context in terms of where we try to focus and how we try to focus. And thank you for those practical tips as well, Kristen. So now we'll get right into the next presentation, which is from Julius Lindsay, our project manager for climate change and sustainable development. And not surprisingly, he'll be talking about what Richmond Hill is doing about that kind of more specific, although quite daunting issue of climate change. So Julius, take it away.
So yes, good night, everybody, and happy Earth Day. As Miles said, my name is Julius Lindsay, and I am the project manager of climate change and sustainable development here at the City of Richmond Hill. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the stuff that Richmond Hill is doing related to climate change and all of the various initiatives that we have going on in that area. So we brand our climate change work under the Resilient Richmond Hill banner, and that really shakes out into two separate initiatives. The first is our corporate climate change framework, which is an umbrella guiding document to outline Richmond Hill's corporate climate change program. And then the next is a community energy emissions plan, which is a community plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and explore related economic activities. And I'll talk about both of these sort of in my presentation, but I'm going to start by talking about the corporate climate change framework. So really the corporate climate change framework, as I said, is like our corporate document that guides how we address climate change as a corporation. Our vision is that Richmond Hill will become a low carbon and resilient community. And our mission is that, you know, Richmond Hill is going to be a leader in doing that by doing three things: applying a climate change lens, creating climate change action programs, and fostering collaboration and innovation. And the way we approached that is by aligning the goals with the existing systems of what we do. So this graphic really shows that. So we're going to apply a climate change lens to our corporate governance activities, our land use planning, and our asset management activities. We are going to create climate change action programs related to community risk mitigation around climate change and green infrastructure. And then lastly, we're going to foster collaboration and innovation in our engagement and innovation that we do here at the city. So that's it for the framework. And now I'll talk a little bit about the community energy and emissions plan. So the community energy emissions plan is a comprehensive study and action plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and position the city competitively and look at related economic activities. We're sort of coming to the end of this process, and we are targeting to go to council in a few weeks with the final plan and present that to council. So we are required to do a community energy emissions plan to meet some of the conformity exercises that we have to do for some of the legislative things that the city has to do. We want to be able to update and inform other corporate initiatives that we're doing, including the framework. And we want to be able to become eligible for grant funding to be able to fund some of the actions that we want to do. So the plan itself has our targets, has some costs related to that and actions. And then we have a full technical document that has all the technical and financial analysis that was done that underpins the plan. So in terms of the plan, our target, I think somebody said this earlier, but our target is net zero GHG emissions by 2050. And what that means is that by 2050, we're going to reduce our GHG emissions as much as possible, and we're going to be offsetting the rest. And offsetting basically means that we're going to be sequestering, or we're going to be reducing in other places stuff that we emit here. So our plan, this is our plan sort of in a summary, and you don't have to read everything on the slide, but it really shapes out that we have 7 sort of program areas, and then we have 29 target areas that sort of more specifically lay out what net zero means on a sort of city level around climate change. And as I said, the plan is going to be going to council in the next little while for final approval. Along with the development of the climate change plan, we decided to work with a group of citizens to develop a climate change toolkit. And the toolkit's really an outreach and engagement product that citizens can use to talk to other citizens about climate change. And it's very specific to Richmond Hill. So there's Richmond Hill data in there. There's actions that are targeted to people who live in Richmond Hill. So it's very specific to our location. You know, we allowed the citizens to determine what the best format would be, what kind of information needed to go in there. We wanted the information to be very local and translate that data into a form that's usable by citizens, because, you know, the city has lots of really technical data, but we wanted to change it into a form that citizens can use. And we also wanted to create visualizations that will display the data in a useful way. And this is also going to be released alongside the community energy and emissions plan, so people can use it right away and get involved in the implementation of the community energy and emissions plan right away. So I'm going to also end off my presentation as what can you do. So, like, as I was just saying, the climate change toolkit is a way to have conversations with others, and we really encourage everybody, once it's released, to use that to have conversations with people in your life around climate change, or to learn more yourself about what you can do and what kind of action you can take related to climate change. What other things you can do, you know, planting trees is something very simple that you can do. As a tree grows, it's going to sequester carbon. It's going to help cool our neighborhoods and our city, and you know, reduce the amount of heat island effect that we might have. I use this picture because everything in this picture is vegetable based. And I'm not saying you have to totally give up meat, but reducing your meat intake is definitely going to have greenhouse gas emission reductions. And there are viable alternatives to pretty much every product that you can find now from a plant-based perspective. So even just reducing your meat intake one day is something that you can personally do to reduce your footprint. You know, walking or cycling is something that you could do, and it's not necessarily that you have to walk or cycle everywhere, but again, it's about making those choices of where you need to go, you know, how long is it going to take, and you know, maybe it's just one a day, maybe you resolve to do it once a week. but it's really about getting out there and trying it and seeing what's possible. And lastly, you know, you're going to hear from a number of groups today that are in Richmond Hill, and I think Richmond Hill, people who live in Richmond Hill are uniquely fortunate that there are a number of groups that you can get involved in that are doing really great work, and that, you know, we often work with in the work that we do. So there's always opportunities to get out there and get involved. And I think that's it for my presentation.
That's great. Thank you, Julius. That was actually a perfect kind of segue to our next presentation, which is from one of those groups. Before I get into that, I just want to put out the reminder that you can certainly submit questions related to the presentation you just heard, and we'll do our best to answer those. And I'll sort of put out the reminder as well that we may not be able to answer all questions, but we'll do our best. And if there's a question we can address, we're certainly happy to follow up to find that answer for you. So I don't see any questions right now for Julia, so I'll just start queuing up our next presentation. Let me find where that is. One moment. All right. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So our next presentation is actually a pre-recorded video by Carrie Tai, who is one of, I believe, the co-founders of Neighbors for the Planet. And for anyone who was paying attention, you would know that Carrie and the group just won an important award from our volunteer awards in Richmond Hill. I believe it was Community Organization of the Year. So congratulations to them. I'm going to try playing this presentation. Before I do that, I'm going to make sure, yes, you should be able to hear it. So I'll try playing that now, and we'll hear what Carrie and her group have been up to in the last couple of years in Richmond Hill.
Happy Earth Day. Thank you, Miles, and the City of Richmond Hill for giving me the opportunity to speak at this exciting event. My name is Carrie Tai. I am co-founder and board chair of Neighbors for the Planet. What started as a regular coffee date with my neighbor turned into the start of a neighborhood climate action group. It was November 2018, just after the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report came out. It stated that we had, at the time, 12 years left to take action to avoid catastrophic climate breakdown. My neighbor talked to me about the report and I was shocked. I knew about global warming, but not climate change. So I'm a person of action, so I suggested we get our two families together and see what we could do. We decided to meet the following weekend. That week, I talked to my friends, coworkers, and other neighbors. I realized that I wasn't the only one who didn't have the climate crisis on my radar. At our meeting with the neighbors, we decided to build a website to create more public awareness, and that's how Neighbors for the Planet was born. By about February to March timeframe, our website was complete. When doing all the research to add content to the website, I was really hit by the urgency of the climate crisis. Now it was time for action. And luckily, just about that time, there was a new climate group targeting climate change that was hosting its first event in Richmond Hill. I was really excited to go to that first meeting. At the meeting, I spoke about trying to get Richmond Hill to declare a climate emergency. This was well received by the audience. I had read about a lot of cities, especially in Quebec, declaring climate emergencies, and I thought this was a great way to get more public awareness on this issue. Since I was very new at this, Liz Couture and Marta Eschetti from Drawdown Richmond Hill agreed to help me. We approached Councillor David West, who is the councillor for my ward, and he agreed to write the motion and championed it. Liz, Marta, and I met with the other councillors But unfortunately, when we tried to pass the motion in May, it was referred for 6 months by Council. Not letting this stop us, in May, Neighbours for the Planet collaborated with other local groups and hosted a Green New Deal town hall to gather input from residents into what vision they had for a better future. A lot of people attended, and it was inspiring to see how many people cared about the climate crisis. People started asking where they could find out about climate events. Neighbours for the Planet was the only group who had a website, so we added a calendar and started an email list to keep people informed. We became the hub for climate action in the region. We also added a partners page to acknowledge all the groups who we were working with. Then in July, with the help of the other climate organizations, we held the very first ever climate strike in Richmond Hill. We were excited to see 50 people attend. We had them sign up to join our email list to keep them informed on other climate events. And then 2 months later, we held a second climate strike, and this time 250 people showed up. People approached us and wanted to join Neighbours for the Planet. They were concerned about the climate crisis but didn't know what they could do. So, in October, we started holding meetings and inviting anyone who wanted to come. We focused on the biggest greenhouse gas emitters in Richmond Hill. We looked at clean transportation, reducing food waste, and changing eating habits. By February, we had produced 3 flyers. We were lucky to have a graphic designer come to our meetings. He took our content from the 3 groups and brought them to life in these beautiful flyers. The back has a list of actions that people can take. We handed these out at events, and they were very well received, and we ended up signing a lot more people to our email list, and we continued to grow our community. Around this time, it was also time to get back to our climate emergency motion. Councillor David West reworded the previous climate emergency motion to Richmond Hill Climate Change Actions, and it passed unanimously by Council. This was a big win for climate change in Richmond Hill. At the end of February, we expanded Neighbours for the Planet to include a youth group cohort. I had heard many students that wanted to take climate action at their school, but when they talked to their friends, none of them seemed interested, and instead they said, "Nothing we do will matter, so why bother?" These students felt alone. It was really sad to hear that, so I thought, why not bring them together to support each other, collaborate, and be part of our climate community. Then COVID happened, so we had to pivot. Well, we thought everyone is stuck at home, so we decided to start a forum on our website to grow your own vegetables, something that could be done at home with the family. We also created a social media team and started blasting more on social media. We held a curbside seed giveaway event, and when we realized that COVID wasn't going away, we organized some online presentations about the climate crisis. And what we realized is that we actually had a further reach. Because we were holding these virtually, people from anywhere could join the meeting. They no longer had to worry about the physical distance to the meetings. So we were reaching people from all over the world. From July to October, we organized meetings with several MPs in York Region ridings to discuss a just recovery. What we started realizing is that in order to really make progress on climate action, we needed to push for systemic change at all levels of government. Youth joined these meetings and were really excited to have their voices heard. They were definitely the stars of these meetings. And in October, we incorporated Neighbours for the Planet as a non-profit organization in order to apply for funding. We then got together with our local groups and we came up with the idea of creating an all-encompassing climate action and resource center in Richmond Hill. We wrote a proposal for this climate center. It was to be a one-stop shop for everything climate. It was going to be a physical center where everyone could come and find out about the latest green technologies and learn about climate change. We were going to have all information in multiple languages to reach out to the full community. We wanted to hold plant-based cooking classes and basically create a community space for climate. This year, we have been focused on building our board and strong governance. Now that we are a not-for-profit, there are a lot of policies and practices to put in place. It is taking some time, but we are getting there. We did find out in February that we did not get the funding for our climate center. And although we were disappointed, we were encouraged to hear that out of the $50 million that was allotted for funding, over $750 million in proposals were submitted. So it is good news that there are a lot of climate groups out there working on action. And for us, now that we are not for profit, we have opportunities to go for other funding. I'm excited to see where this will lead us. There are a lot of actions you can take to tackle climate change. Here are my top 3. Number 1, meet with your MP, your MPP, and your city councillors and build a relationship. Let them know that you're concerned about the climate crisis and that you want urgent action. They need to hear from their constituents in order to take action. Number 2, talk about climate to everyone you know. We need to create more public awareness. It can be hard to start a climate conversation, but we have some flyers on our website that can help with that. And finally, join a climate group. There are a lot out there. Pick the one that speaks to you and take action. For more information about what we do, check out our website. Join our email list. Together we are stronger. Together we can tackle climate change and leave a brighter future for the next generations. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Carrie, for that. I think Carrie's on the call, so hopefully you're hearing the thanks. But I think there's a lot to take from that, especially in the community sense, obviously. So we, city staffers know that there's only so much we can do, and that our work certainly kind of hits a wall, so to speak. And after that, it's really up to the community. So it's very inspiring to see work like this being done and momentum being built, and of course that being recognized through that award. So congratulations again, and thank you for sharing. I believe there were a couple questions that came in. I just want to make sure that they're getting addressed. In the meantime, or while we're doing that, I'm hoping that we can play a little game here, do a little quiz. Try to keep things a little fun. You're going to get to know this Mentimeter or Menti.com platform pretty well. So I'm going to invite everyone to go back to Menti.com, and I will share that next screen with you. And this is just a simple Earth Day quiz. Let's see if I can get there. There we are. So why don't we go through this quiz now? I'll ask you to go to menti.com and use the code on the screen there, 14514768. And when you are in there, you'll have to enter a name as well, and that way we'll know who the winner is. So I see there's a few people entering, it looks like. Great. Okay. Let me see here. I think we'll see some name. Oh, okay, great. Lots of people. All right, so I'm going to start the first question here. And no, those are just randomly assigned little icons there. So just enjoy the one that you get. I don't actually see who's who yet, but I think at the end I'll see. And if you don't see your name appear, it might mean because you're not on the leaderboard. So apologies for that. So let's start the first question here. And if you answer faster, you get more points. So in what country was the first Earth Day celebrated? Go. 10 seconds. Sweden, United States, Australia, or Canada? Okay. So we got some people choosing the United States, a lot of people choosing Sweden as well. I kind of put that in there to throw you off a bit, so don't hate me for it. Okay, so United States, in fact, it was. Let's go to question number 2. Approximately how much of Richmond Hill's total land falls within the Oak Ridges Moraine? Is it 12, 24, 38, or 52%? Okay, a lot of people guessing 24. In fact, it's just over half, over 52%. And we'll hear a bit more about, of course, our urban forest and that topic a little bit later. Okay, on to the next question, question 3. True or false, Richmond Hill's tree canopy has decreased in the past 10 years. Oh, no faith. So in fact, it has increased in the past 10 years. And again, our experts will be talking a bit more about our tree situation. But yeah, good news. Our tree canopy is doing well. Okay, question 4, another multiple choice. April 22nd was the date chosen for Earth Day to maximize participation from this group: students, seniors, immigrants, or people born in April. What's your best guess? Ah, very good, very good. Most people chose students. It is students. Apparently that date was chosen because it falls in between spring break and final exams for a lot of college students in the States. Well done. All right, question number 5. Another true and false, true or false. Lake Wilcox is the largest kettle lake in the Oak Ridges Moraine. That looks like a lot of people know that one right off the bat. Yes, indeed it is the largest in the Moraine. So really a jewel of Richmond Hill, something to be proud of and to take care of. Okay, well done. It looks like on our leaderboard, we have PC as the winner. So I'll just ask my colleague Kristen to note that down for me. And we may have to reach out to figure out who that is exactly, but well done, PC, well done. That's earned you a prize pack from Richmond Hill. Okay, let me just check our time and our schedule. I think because we're just a couple minutes behind here, we're going to move on to our next presentation. That's going to be from Bridget Mitchell. She's the Waste Management Coordinator for the City of Richmond Hill. And she'll be talking to you certainly about waste management and waste reduction issues, and of course, the actions that we can take around those. So I'll pass that on to you, Bridget.
Thank you, Miles. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I share a wall with the bathroom and my little guys are having a bath. So if you can hear anything, that's what's going on. Okay, just let me share my screen here. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Hang on a sec. Can you guys see the presentation there? Sorry, it's not, the screen I'm choosing is not what it's.
We see the title slide there, Bridget.
Okay, you do. Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We're good.
Thank you. Okay, so as Miles said, I'm Bridget Mitchell. I'm the Waste Management Coordinator for the City of Richmond Hill. So my role is around the policy and planning of waste management strategies and regulations, as well as development review from a waste management perspective. So tonight I'm going to give you an overview of how waste management works in Richmond Hill. So it's a shared responsibility between York Region and ourselves. Richmond Hill collects the waste and York Region disposes, processes and disposes of the waste. So we collect curbside from over 50,000 single family homes, semi-detached and townhomes, and from over 100 apartments and condominiums. So we call that multi-residential collection or bulk collection. So I'm going to start with garbage. Where does our garbage go? So most of it goes to energy from waste facilities. There it is combusted, so essentially it's burned, and that heat generates electricity and steam. And the remaining 5% does go to landfill. So in order to reduce what's going to energy from waste and from landfill, that's where our 3 R's come in. And the most important really is reduction and reuse. So even though right now, single family homes, semis, and townhomes are diverting about 70% of their waste from the garbage, there's still room for improvement. So we always want to encourage everyone to minimize the waste they generate through reducing what they buy or acquire, and by reusing or repurposing their items. So I'm going to show you a little video here about what happens with your blue box material. I hope this works. Let's see here. I wasn't able to embed the video. Kept shutting down, but here we go.
These are the people who live in York Region. And even though York Region is one of the fastest growing places in Canada,
It's not showing on the screen.
in York Region, everyone is reducing, reusing, and recycling. So how are we doing it? By taking easy steps like bringing cloth bags or bins when we go grocery shopping. By buying cool stuff from
Bridget, I don't know if you can hear, but it's not showing on the screen.
Getting off on the road.
Is it not on the right screen?
We can hear it, but can't see it.
Okay, thank you. Let me just get it. Sorry, I've got so many screens here. How about now?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Sorry
got
about
it.
that.
Right track.
Hi, I'm Stacy from Richmond Hill. My school recycles things like envelopes, construction paper, and notebooks. Even stuff like sticky notes, milk cartons, and juice boxes. You just have to remove the straw. That's good for everybody now. And if more and more people do it, it can really help change the world I'll be living in later. That's important to me and my friends.
Hello there, my name is Michelle. I work at the Materials Recovery Facility in East Gwillimbury. It's the place where all the recyclables from blue boxes get sent. Here's what happens to the stuff you put in the blue box after the truck leaves your house. Some of the trucks have 2 compartments, one for recyclables and one for green bin stuff. First, we sort through everything by hand and take out stuff we can't recycle. Things like styrofoam, plastic bags, propane cylinders, garden hoses. You wouldn't believe some of the weird things we find that aren't recyclable. Most of the stuff recycled in the blue box is paper or cardboard, thankfully not raccoons. The paper stuff is sorted out first through a series of mechanical screens so that it's easier to sort the rest of the blue box materials later. The other recyclables continue on the line and get sorted out by machines that use infrared light and compressed air to separate plastic containers. Oh, there's this other sorting machine called the eddy current separator, where aluminum cans get taken off the conveyor belt using an electrical charge. Pretty cool, huh? Then the recyclable stuff that's been separated gets squished into bales, like this. And after that, they're ready to be sold and shipped off to get remade into products we use every day. Believe it or not, stuff like plastic car parts, fleece sweaters, pop cans, paper, and tissue. Gesundheit.
And that's just the start of our success story here in York Region. Step by step, everybody, everywhere can do something to live greener and protect the future for generations to come. The most important person who can help change our environment for the better is you.
Okay, so as mentioned, in the blue box, when we think about what we are putting in the blue box, it's really containers and packaging. So, for example, a frying pan is not a container and it's not a package. Now, not all containers and packaging are recyclable and belong in the blue box, but generally, if it's not a container or packaging, it wouldn't belong there. Textiles, furnace filters, that kind of thing, those aren't packaging. Now, I have another video about where the material goes for green bin. So let's hope this one works a little bit better this time. Yes, looks like it will.
These days, it seems like more and more people are doing more to live greener and help the environment. In York Region, everyone is reducing, reusing, and recycling. Want to know our secret? We're taking easy steps like choosing not to buy things that come with a ridiculous amount of packaging, and by the way, are also impossible to open. We're also eating smarter by not buying more food than we need. And this is really important. We're composting. What's that?
Hi, we're the Stubbingtons from Vaughan. Composting is taking organic material like leaves and vegetable peelings, making them into nutrients for your soil. It's fun and pretty simple to do.
And what we don't compost in our backyard, we put into the green bin. Any kind of food scraps can go into the green bin instead of the garbage.
Hi, I'm Andy. I work for York Region and I live in Newmarket. Just wanted to mention you can also add coffee grounds, coffee filters, diapers, even doggy, I hope you're picking up after them. Here's what happens. After we pick up the green bin stuff in your neighborhood, it gets sent out to the composting facility. Here, the piles of organic stuff get put inside a mechanical bag breaker that loosens up the stuff from the bags and mixes it all up. It has to have just the right amount of porousness, moisture, and ratio of carbon to nitrogen in order to get the composting process off to a good start. Then, for the first few days of composting, the temperature is monitored to make sure the pile is producing enough heat to help everything break down. Next, we keep monitoring the temperature as it increases even more and gets rid of the bad bacteria. In the last phase, called the screening process, plastic bags and steel cans that might contaminate the organic stuff are removed from the compost. Then we cure it for a minimum of 21 days before testing it to make sure it meets some pretty strict guidelines. Then, finally, the compost gets sold as soil nutrient to farmers nearby.
And that's just the start of our success story here in York Region. Step by step, everybody everywhere can do something to live greener and protect the future for generations to come. The most important person who can help change our environment for the better is you.
Okay, so as mentioned again in the video, materials that are accepted in the blue box in the green bin program is any food scraps, any food waste, food, whether it's meat, bones, because it's heated to such a high temperature, it can handle those types of materials, unlike your backyard composter. Also, feminine hygiene products and diapers, tissues, napkins, food soiled paper, and shredded paper. So as you saw in the recycling video, all the recycling goes along conveyors. So if we put shredded paper into recycling, that paper just goes everywhere and makes a real mess. So that's why we put it into the green bin. Now, the material that goes in the garbage are all those other things. So any composite materials made of, something like a toothbrush that's made of different type of plastics, or something that, for example, is a light bulb. It's got metal and it's got glass. So these materials all go in the garbage. You can see a lot of them are actually single-use plastics, and as well PPE, so personal protective equipment, gloves and masks are also garbage. Black plastic can't be recycled, and coffee cups and coffee pods also cannot be recycled. So part of the challenges with our recycling programs is the evolution of the packaging over time. So initially back in the 80s, it was a high value material that was easily recyclable and easily marketed. But now we've switched to lower value plastics, And some of this packaging is quite complex. It's made of numerous materials, and either there's limited markets or no markets, or it just can't be recycled. So a lot of these things cause confusion and can end up as blue box contamination. So another issue with our recycling programs, as I've touched on, is single-use plastics. So these have serious consequences for the environment through litter, through breaking down into microplastics, and also on wildlife. They also create operational challenges, as I mentioned, blue box contamination. And there's now a growing awareness and movement locally and globally to address this issue. So some of the things that are being done to address these challenges is that both the federal and provincial governments are have committed to developing single-use plastics reduction strategies and banning certain plastics as well. There's also new provincial legislation around shifting the responsibility and costs of the Blue Box program to producers. Right now, a big part of the responsibility is on the municipality, and we fund 50% of it. So this would put all the responsibility on those companies that are making that packaging. Regionally in 2018, they invested $6 million into their recycling facility on technology improvements that helps better sort the recycling material. And they also work on outreach campaigns, and they're currently exploring ways to reduce and eliminate single-use plastics. And here in Richmond Hill, we provide education and outreach through our website, our calendar, the Recycle Coach app, and social media. We also provide additional support to multi-residential property managers because there tends to be more contamination in apartments and condominiums. We also enforce through leaving behind heavily contaminated material. And then we are developing, have developed and are currently developing strategies and programs targeting certain problematic items. So such as PPE, which are gloves, masks, and wipes, and single-use plastic. So I'll talk about the single-use plastic strategy or reduction strategy. So in November of 2020, Council directed staff to develop this strategy, and it includes both corporate initiatives and citywide initiatives. So currently being developed is a corporate policy for food and beverage related single-use plastic reduction. And then citywide, we will be shortly launching our education and outreach campaign, and we are working on developing our business recognition program in partnership with York Region. So some of the things that you can do to reduce blue box contamination is don't bag your recycling. We don't want to see any film plastic in the blue box. Also, no personal protective equipment, COVID-related material that goes in the garbage. And if you're unsure about what goes where, there's lots of ways you can find out. There's the calendar that goes to everyone. Or every single family home and townhome. And there is the website, the Recycle Coach app, York Region's Vindicator, and then you can also call us or email us if you have specific questions. Now, to reduce your single-use plastics, you want to use, choose, or bring your reusables. And say no to single-use plastics. So if you're ordering takeout or you're ordering online, some places do allow you to choose to have less packaging or certain types of packaging. And then ask the businesses that you frequent to provide alternatives and support those who are providing alternatives. So that's it from me. Thanks very much and happy Earth Day.
Okay, thank you so much, Bridget. Lots of information in there. really reminds me, I guess, of how complex of an issue, I mean, even just that specific issue of waste management. And it reminds me how much has changed, right? I don't consider myself that old, but I do remember, you know, when things were all going into garbage bags, and you know, nothing was being recycled or composted. So definitely a lot of changes, but I think as we learn more, we also learn more about some of the issues that go even deeper maybe than what we realize. So thank you for pointing out some of that, and definitely you know, lots that people can do on their own. You know, again, it's a complex issue, but yeah, some good tips in there. So thank you for that, Bridget.
Thank you.
I don't see any questions for Bridget, and I know we've had a few, and I appreciate the people who have submitted those. We're doing our best to get back to you on that. I'm also doing my best to kind of keep the time, keep to our time, and we're just about to take a break, but we have one more presentation from a community member, Kathleen Wong, who is presenting on behalf of the Blue Dot Group. So she's going to explain kind of like how Carrie did, you know, how that group started up, and what they've been focused on, and the actions that they've taken locally to kind of pursue their goals, which of course are in many ways complementary to ours. Excuse me. I do see there's a few questions on the garbage side, so let me pass it to you, Kathleen, and then we'll come back to those questions just before our break. So Kathleen, if you wanted to go ahead and share your screen, and you can take the mic.
Okay.
It's all.
Okay, so this, I am the co-chair of Blue Dot York Region. Fortunately, not the technician for Blue Dot York Region. And together protect the people and places we love. So that is the motto for our group. And I'm going to go on to the second slide. So Blue Dot is a grassroots, nonpartisan national movement. And it was inspired by David Suzuki and Eco-Justice. And that was in 2014. They took a trip across Canada and they promoted the Blue Dot movement. The idea behind Blue Dot is that everyone in Canada should have the right to a healthy environment, including clean air and water, safe food, and a stable climate. So as we've gone about and visited people and asked them to support this, many people have said, well, Canada has that already, don't they? And quite a few countries do. Over 110 have it in their constitution, but not Canada. So this is, of course, I think you'll recognize this gentleman, David Suzuki. And as David Suzuki said, what's more important than the right to breathe fresh air, drink clean water, and eat healthy foods? So that is why, in his opinion, we need to have it as, we need to have the right to a healthy environment. So the plan was that we would start with a municipal declaration and work our way up. So some of you may know Terry Knight. This is Terry actually guiding traffic at an event. But so she founded Blue Dot in Richmond Hill. So she urged Councillor David West to propose a municipal declaration for the right to a healthy environment. And she didn't have to twist his arm. And the declaration was passed unanimously by council. And that convinced me that this was all going to be really easy. We could just move on. So we did expand to become Blue Dot York Region and went on with more and more municipal declarations being passed. Aurora, Newmarket, King, East Gwillimbury. You can see the member in Aurora who presented that was quite excited, and it's unanimous. So that was another one that was unanimous. And gradually, 177 municipal governments representing more than 15 million Canadians across Canada passed declarations supporting the right to a healthy environment. So as we were meeting people and collecting signatures and talking to people about environmental rights, we got involved in a lot of community things. And one was in the conjunction with the city of Richmond Hill. We organized spring cleanups. And there's Frank, one of our original Blue Dot members, with his family cleaning up the mill pond. And we made a lot of connections in the community with community organizers and other environmental groups, Drawdown Richmond Hill, Neighbors for the Planet. We partnered with them at town halls, film events, and meeting with politicians. So we got a lot of support from the community. We looked after the bikes at the Mill Pond concerts. Unfortunately, not this last summer, but we hope we'll be doing that again, just to encourage residents to leave their cars at home and to ride their bikes. And it was a very popular, event. And we heard from the youth. So here we have some of the young people who have been absolutely amazing. Esther, who wrote poetry about the environment. And then we have Kathy, who made this painting about this turtle, and she won a prize for that painting. And here we have Sydney. Now, Sydney came from Markham, and she came by herself to join us at Blue Dot meetings. And for quite a while, she was the only high school student that was there, but that didn't stop her from participating and sharing ideas. So she was really amazing. And I have a quote from here from one of her town halls from Sydney. And we need climate protection for everyone, not just for ourselves, but for future generations that will have to fix the problems that the big people made before they were born. So it was nice to see someone as young as Sydney who was looking ahead to future generations. Like, we need to do this for people who are going to come after us. So we continued to work with the city of Richmond Hill. So lots of support, most recently being invited to participate in the community energy and emissions plan. So that's been excellent. One of the big areas we worked on, was at the federal level. So the Canadian Environmental Protection Plan, or Protection Act, or CEPA, is Canada's environmental law. So it's actually 22 years old now. So when I first started with Blue Dot in 2015, we worked to strengthen this, to get the right to a healthy environment included in CEPA. So we met with people at all kinds of events, at councillor picnics, food fest, whatever, and we would tell them about environmental rights and ask them to sign. So we got hundreds and hundreds of signatures. Sometimes things move really slowly, which is one of the reasons it's nice to be part of a group, to have that support. And this moved slowly. There was a committee, an all-party committee, that met for a year to look at some of these recommendations. And at the end of the year, they came up with all kinds of recommendations for how CEPA could be strengthened, including the right to a healthy environment in Canadian law. So what happened is there was an election, and then there was COVID. And then last week, the federal government brought forward CEPA. So the bill C-28 is looking at updating CEPA to include the right to a healthy environment. So what we've been working on for the last 6 years is finally being realized. So I just put this link down. You can check this out. It's pretty easy if you want to copy it. I said that's something you can do, is just have a look at this and encourage the government to strengthen and pass Bill C-28 so that we all have the right to a healthy environment in law. That would be really excellent. And at the federal level, we met with lots of politicians, and we asked them to sign for an MP pledge that they supported environmental rights. So here I am with Terry and with Majid, and he signed it. We also had we had people from Liberals and Conservatives who were willing to sign the page. That was nice to see. In Markham, Unionville, Sydney, the young girl I mentioned earlier, was one of the people who visited Bob Soroya and asked him to sign. And when he signed it, he said, "I'm doing this for Sydney." So that was really nice. Our ultimate goal when we started was to change the Constitution. I think we came to realize constitutional change is very difficult. It's a very lengthy process. And with the looming climate crisis, we started to feel an increasing need to focus at the local level. So this is something we had to kind of put on the back burner. Blue Dot changed too, and David Suzuki Foundation started to look at how they could support all kinds of community groups, providing tools and workshops and resources. So they set up futuregroundnetwork.org, and it's so that became a resource for all groups in the community, and a real change in focus. When I think about what we've learned, and I think we heard a little bit of this from Julius when he talked about groups in the community, and certainly from Carrie, is join a group. A group provides resources and support while sending a strong message to politicians about climate concerns. And the next thing I would say is communicate with your political leaders at all levels of government. And I think for myself, I probably never did that. Maybe I signed an occasional petition, but until I joined Blue Dot, I really did not do that very much. And it's been a real learning experience, forming a relationship with politicians and talking to them and letting them know what's important, and starting to realize they represent us and it's important that we communicate with them. And a lot of action takes place at the local level. That's where we have support, where we have our community. And according to the latest International Panel on Climate Change, 50 to 70% of climate action solutions come from the local level. So I've said celebrate Earth Day every day. And I think for the people here, you probably already know that. So I want to thank everyone. Here is our Facebook page, Blue Dot Richmond Hill. Some of the links I mentioned are there. I also have a page here, which is where you can check out the Liberal budget, that the climate action and green economy. It's very accessible. You can check for themes, or you can do a search engine to find things. So that's a really good resource to see what's going on in the budget right now. And I also mentioned our MP Majid Jauhari again. He has started a number of councils. One is an environmental council, and we meet once a month. So if you're interested in getting a little bit more involved in politics, that's a kind of an easy way to do it. It's not a huge time commitment. You can write to him, tell me you're interested in being part of the council. You don't even have to say anything if you don't want to. You can just listen. So that is an invitation to let the federal government know what's important to you in terms of the environment. So thank you very much.
That's great. Thank you, Kathleen, for that. Lots of really interesting information, and again, lots of good tips for how you can take action in the community. And again, things that can't really come from the municipal government. So really good to hear about those. I just want to quickly note, I think the goals that Blue Dot has are very lofty, but some of those actions, like for example, the bike valet, I think that's such a great example of a very relatively simple action that we can take at a local level that really, when you multiply that across a city, a province, a country, can really have quite an effect. So I'm glad that you touched on that as well. And hopefully we'll be able to do that in the future too. I see that we're at 8 o'clock, so I think this would be a good time for a break. I know there have been a few questions that have come in, and we're trying to get those addressed through the Q&A, just to be respectful of time, to make sure we get everyone in here. So why don't we take a 5-minute break, and then we'll resume with our last presentation from staff and a couple of our youth groups as well. And then we'll close up from there. So thanks everyone so far. Let's take 5, and we'll see you at about 8:07. Thank you. Okay, hopefully everyone had a chance to refresh themselves a bit there, and is back and ready to hear the last segment of our presentation, our webinar tonight. So far we've heard a lot of information, I would say. Hopefully some actions that are worth remembering and maybe taking home and trying yourself, or considering in what way you can bring that out into your kind of local community. So we have a few things left here. The next on tap is a presentation that's been submitted by one of our youth groups, the Making Waves youth team. And it's a video that they've submitted to share how they came up with their podcast and what they hope to achieve through that. So let me just share my screen and get that playing for you now.
Hello, Richmond Hill. We're Making Waves, the youth team behind the growing eco podcast, How's the Climate?
We are alum from Youth Challenge International's Innovate My Future program, where we were partnered with Resilient Richmond Hill and tasked with educating the community about climate change. What we realized was that there are so many impactful and incredible climate organizations that exist in Richmond Hill, as you can see today at Growing Green Actions for a Sustainable City.
So we want to act as the connectors, somehow finding a way to engage with the community and highlight the incredible work that's being done in Richmond Hill. After brainstorming and carefully following the design thinking model, we decided that the best way to connect the community with Richmond Hill Climate Initiatives and highlight the great groups was through a podcast. There's such power in coming together and working as a group. How's the Climate, our podcast, connects listeners to different environmental groups in Richmond Hill, making listeners feel less alone and exposing them to a variety of different ways that they can take action. Here are some of our top tips for getting involved. 1. Get involved with the climate community. Join a local group like Blue Dot or Neighbors for the Planet. They have amazing conversations, opportunities happening, making it very easy for the community to get involved and make a difference. You can join our own group too, Making Waves. Just give us a message. And number 2, stay up to date and involved in/with climate politics. Now, this isn't always easy, but staying up to date with the news and attending town halls can help you stay informed. Politicians want to hear from you, so don't be afraid to let your voice and opinions be heard. And lastly, number 3, reach out. Networking does seem difficult at first, but taking that first step can open up a world of endless possibilities and opportunities. Now, we were really new to the Richmond Hill climate scene, and honestly, it was a little daunting looking in from the outside. But once we took that first step, it gave us so many more networking opportunities. So don't be afraid to send out that first email. Trust us, you won't regret it.
So what were our results? In total, we've so far been able to release 4 episodes with another 2 on the way. Our current topics have ranged from teaching climate education, to nonprofits, to the power of youth, to racial and economic issues related to climate change, and they've received several hundred downloads in total. Some of our milestones include receiving a Youth Challenge International $1,000 Impact Fund in December, as well as having our first episode released on February 1st. We also have our Instagram and LinkedIn pages at Making Waves RH, where you can further check out our work.
COVID-19 forced us to pursue a virtual platform, which ended up being really valuable. The podcast forum is a great way to highlight the voices and experiences of changemakers in the community because it focuses on listening. If you or someone you know is interested in being a guest on How's the Climate and sharing your story, we would love to hear from you. So please send us a message via social media on LinkedIn or Instagram, as Matthew mentioned earlier. We're also looking for youth to join our Making Waves team, so feel free to share this opportunity with the youth in your community. You can listen to How's the Climate on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much.
Okay, so thank you to the Making Waves team for that. I have a feeling they should have been the ones doing my tech in the background tonight. But a great idea, really, from a bunch of younger people to use the technology at hand to get people talking about these issues. So really inspiring to see that, and I hope it's something we continue to see in Richmond Hill. So I'm going to pass on the microphone now to our last kind of combo of colleagues, Krista and Diana, who are going to talk to you about how Richmond Hill has been and will continue to tackle some of the environmental issues around our urban forest and kind of our land use, so including things like community gardens. I know there was a question earlier on to do with community gardens, and we'll see if we can get that addressed through this presentation as well. So I think it's Diana going first. I'll hand it over to you, Diana.
Can you see that right screen, the presentation?
Yep, looks good.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone, and happy Earth Day. My name is Diana Shermett, and I'm a Natural Environment Coordinator with the City of Richmond Hill. One of my responsibilities is helping the city protect the urban forest by working with staff and other departments to implement the urban forest management plan. So just to give you a bit of a refresher, which I'm sure many on the call are familiar with, but the urban forest includes all trees and their growing environments throughout the community on both public and private lands. So this includes street trees, residential trees, parks, woodlands, and other natural areas that are treed. And the urban forest provides a wealth of services and benefits. And some of these benefits include improving our air quality, sequestering carbon and helping to mitigate the impacts of climate change, providing for a host of wildlife, managing storm events by absorbing and attenuating floods, providing shading and cooling, and improving overall health. I'm sure many people can relate, especially in our current climate with COVID, that getting out in the urban forest is one of the few things that we can do, and it's been great for our mental health. So we can measure and evaluate the urban forest in a number of ways. One way is by looking at the canopy cover, which is just the area that is covered by the crowns of the trees. So you can see the existing tree canopy within Richmond Hill on this map. It is about 29%, and 2/3 of that is within the northern portion of Richmond Hill. And as Miles had mentioned earlier, that 52% of Richmond Hill is within the Oak Ridges Moraine, and the majority of that, or 2/3 of the canopy, is within the Oak Ridges Moraine, while the other third of the urban canopy is in the southern portion of the city. So current targets provided by the Richmond Hill official plan are to achieve a minimum of 25% canopy cover, which we have already exceeded. We have 29%. So the OP is currently under review and being updated, and through that process, we will be updating the target to 30%. And the current woodland target is 15%, and the existing woodland cover is 13%. So that means that there is room for improvement for restoration and and enhancements within the woodland cover. And it's also worth noting that these are just minimums, and we're always aiming to meet and exceed these minimums. So there are a number of challenges and stressors facing the urban forest. These are just a few examples here. But as you saw in the previous slide, intensification and development can have an effect on the cover and distribution of trees and woodlands across the city. This can also lead to difficult growing conditions in an urbanizing landscape, which can have an impact on the overall health and potential maturity and size of trees that are planted and their ability to grow. Invasive species, pests, and diseases are also an ongoing problem, whether it's in the form of invasive plants taking over or pests and diseases that are impacting the health of the urban forest. And then climate change is a big issue because it can exacerbate and compound many of the above mentioned issues. So what is Richmond Hill doing? To help deal with these challenges, the city has developed an urban forest management plan, and that was approved by council in 2020. So the plan does recognize the city's strong foundation of urban forest management. We have existing policies and bylaws that help to protect the overall canopy, and we have award-winning programs that leverage partners in the community and urban forest stewardship activities. So the urban forest management plan has 4 main goals. That's to plan and protect, preserve canopy cover, build knowledge to make wise decisions, strengthen the urban forest to increase resilience, and grow partnerships to strengthen stewardship. So we have been doing these things and we will continue to, but more specifically, some of the ways we've been implementing the plan is through our community stewardship program, which is an award-winning program where we plant trees and do restoration on public lands. And my colleague Krista is going to speak more to this program. We also have the Healthy Yards program where the public can get information to improve their own personal green space. The program offers subsidized rain barrels, composters, and you can also purchase tree, shrubs, and wildflower kits. There's more information on the website. And just this spring, the city of Richmond Hill has been recognized as a tree city of the world. And this is a global initiative that recognizes in cities and towns that are committed to ensuring that their urban forests and trees are properly maintained, sustainably managed, and duly celebrated. We're also actively engaged in invasive species management and restoration. So you can see the parks here where we have been doing invasive species management, and we've been targeting buckthorn, honeysuckle, and also replanting with native trees and shrubs. We're also actively managing for emerald ash borer, where we're removing hazard trees and planting replacement trees. And we're also preparing for gypsy moth. So for those that are not aware, gypsy moth is a non-native insect that defoliates a large host of trees. Its preferred host is oak species, but it does feed on a variety of other trees, including poplars, beech, maples, and even different conifer species. So gypsy moth outbreaks usually occur every 7 to 10 years, and they vary in intensity. So last year, 2020, and this year are expected to be the worst seen since its first arrival in the late 1960s. So staff have been preparing for a severe infestation of gypsy moth. Urban forestry and park staff have been going out and scraping and vacuuming egg masses from park and boulevard trees. And this summer, they'll also be going out and hosing down trees to reduce the impacts from caterpillars. And for areas that are expected to be hard hit by gypsy moth, they've been putting out door knockers to let landowners know what they can do on their own property. So what can you do to help improve and protect the urban forest? In regards to gypsy moth, landowners with street trees can remove the egg masses. Right now, the egg masses are expected to start emerging in late April, so beginning about next week. So before they emerge, you can start scraping them off with a butter knife or a palette knife. You want to be careful not to hurt the bark or scrape the bark. And you can put them into a bucket of soapy water and let them sit for about 48 hours, and then you can dispose of them. After the caterpillars have started to emerge, and peak emergence is expected to occur around mid-May, you can put out burlap banding around a tree. And what that does is it helps capture the caterpillars. So as the caterpillars climb up the trees in the evening, and they climb down during the day to escape predators and avoid the heat of the day. And then as they climb back up the tree, they'll get caught in the burlap banding, and then you can manually remove them. Wear gloves to protect yourselves from potentially getting stung or any sensitivities from the caterpillars. And then you can put them into a bucket of soapy water and let sit for about 48 hours and then dispose of them. And there is, again, more information on our website that has more detailed information on how you can do the burlap banding and the egg mass removal. So other ways that you can help to protect and improve the urban forest is improving your knowledge and gaining an appreciation and understanding for nature. And I'm sure I'm speaking and preaching to the choir here, but I find that this is the first step in being able to help protect it. So you can get more familiar with your trees by taking a self-guided tour at Lake Wilcox Self-Guided Tree Tour. The city does have a guide online, and it helps identify the native trees that have been planted throughout the park. EcoSpark is also hosting a city nature challenge where between April 30th and May 3rd, you can go outside and take pictures of wild plants and animals and post them on iNaturalist on the City Nature Challenge. And then experts will confirm identifications between May 4th to May 9th, and it helps to track biodiversity within the Greater Toronto Area. And there is a webinar being hosted on April the 30th. So the most obvious thing to do for helping to improve the urban forest is planting. So the city does have a partnership with LEAF, the Local Enhancement and Appreciation of Forest Organization. So you can plant a native tree, and a tree specialist will help provide advice on appropriate tree selection and tree care. In addition to planting native trees, it's also important to plant native plants within the garden. So the majority of invasive plants in Ontario have escaped and been introduced through the horticultural industry. So by planting native species, it helps to increase the urban forest resilience. This helps to improve insect diversity, which in return improves diversity amongst other animals like birds and other wildlife. So Richmond Hill does have guides to native wildflowers, shrubs, and trees on their website. And the Ontario Invasive Plant Council has the Grow Me Instead guide, which highlights invasive horticultural plants and then alternatives that you can plant instead of the invasive plants. And my colleague Krista is going to be speaking in more detail about the on-the-ground strategies that Richmond Hill is involved in.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Diana, for that. Once again, lots of information, and I think lots of evidence that that Richmond Hill is certainly taking action, and that those actions are paying off, but that there's clearly more to do. So let's jump into more to do. As I see we're getting close to the end of our schedule here. We've got some great information from Krista Lynn, another natural environment coordinator, and I'll let Krista just start it up right now. That's perfect, Krista. We can see your presentation. So
awesome, thanks. I know we are getting a little bit tight for time, so I'll try to keep this really short and concise for everybody. So hi everyone, my name is Krista Lynn. I'm a natural environment analyst, part of the Parks Operations team. I myself actually take care of the Healthy Yards program and the Community Garden program. But I've been with the city on this team for about 5 years now, so I'll be speaking about some of the other things that we do as well. So greening our land and natural spaces. So just tying back to kind of the theme of this whole webinar today, we basically have a few objectives, basically to establish and protect and maintain the healthy and diverse local ecosystems. And by doing so, we're able to meet and maintain canopy cover targets. So the programs that we do have in the city vary based on whether or not they attend to city-owned land or private land, and whether or not it's city-focused or city-led. So that being work completed by staff members versus volunteers and community groups. So the 4 programs that I'll be talking about today are the Community Stewardship Program, the Community Garden Program, Pollinator Initiatives, and Richmond Hill Blooms. So the first program I'm talking about today is the Community Stewardship Program, also known as CSP for short, because it's quite a bit of a mouthful there. Basically, this program aims to restore city-owned lands in parks and open spaces through the involvement of the public. So a couple of years ago, we did celebrate our 20th anniversary and created a short video summarizing some of the achievements that we had. So I'll just play that really quickly.
Every year, with the help of partner agencies, we work together with community volunteers to plant trees, clean up streams, and remove invasive plants in our parks and natural areas. In the last 20 years, thanks to 18,000 volunteers, we've planted 206,000 trees and shrubs, restored 84 acres of land, and 22 kilometers of stream. Together, we're making a difference for tomorrow. Thank you to all of our current and former partners for your dedication and support. For more information about upcoming planting and stewardship events, visit richmondhill.ca/tree planting.
Okay, so I guess just a bit more about, some more details about the actual program itself. So I would say that the work does get divided into more field-based, on-the-ground work, and then education and outreach. For the field-based work, we do planting events, often in partnership with some of our partners, such as TRCA, Ontario Streams, and LEAF. We also do invasive species management. So this could be as simple as stewardship events where we pull or snip invasive species. We also do stream restoration with Ontario Streams, where basically we're trying to, reduce flooding and also to create a riparian or along the riversides, some more habitat for wildlife. And then something that's unique about this program is the monitoring and follow-up stewardship that we do. So we actually go back a couple years after, and then 5 years too, and then 5 years after to make sure that the work that we've conducted is actually successful. And if it isn't, then we know that we have more work to do in that area. So we also have education and outreach. So normally we do workshops all the way from the spring until the fall, but obviously because of our current pandemic, we kind of switched gears and went online, and we do offer a few webinars. And I'll have links at the end of the presentation that you can check to see what we do have. And also in normal times, we have information booths and displays. So onto the community garden program is something more special to me because I do attend to this myself. So what are community gardens? So what makes that different from regular gardens? Basically, community gardens are shared plots of land where people gather together to grow fresh veggies and flowers. There are actually a lot of benefits to joining a community garden. One being social. In regular times, you have an opportunity to meet new people, get to knowledge share and learn more about gardening. There's also a lot of health benefits because you're getting outside and you're just being active. Believe it or not, it can actually be pretty tiring. And there's also the environmental benefit, so cutting down your carbon footprint by just growing the vegetables that you have at home instead of going to the supermarket where vegetables were flown across the world just to, get into our stores. So Richmond Hill does have 8 gardens that we're affiliated with, located on public land, and they're divided into 2 types. So one is the allotment garden, which is run by the city. We rent out different plots for a small fee, and then we also have the collective gardens, which are run by the community groups and organizations. So just kind of listing off the community gardens that we have in Richmond Hill. So the Phyllis Rollinson Allotment Garden is run by the city, and we do rent out plots, and it's actually really popular. I think right now we have like 100 people on the wait list. I'm hoping to get something else going eventually, but you know, this right now. We also have Sussex Park Collective Garden, which is run and managed by the Salvation Army. And then we also have the Forester Collective Garden, which is located at the back of Phyllis Rollinson Park. And then we have Harmony Pollinator Garden, which, as it's named, has more pollinator species, which is great, or pollinator-friendly species. The last 4 there that are listed are run and maintained and managed by the Richmond Hill Garden and Horticultural Society. So on to the Pollinator Initiatives. This has been more of a hot topic recently, but we've actually been doing quite a bit of work for a while, so I thought to just highlight some of the work that we've done. So prior to 2016, we did start a seed-saving library where we accepted butterfly milkweed seeds. In 2016, we took the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, and we've been doing so every single year since then. In 2017, we integrated milkweed plants into our community planting plans. In 2018, we partnered with the David Suzuki Foundation's Butterfly Wave project. We were declared a bee city, and we also launched the Harmony Pollinator Garden, which I did mention in the previous slide. So in 2019, we started our pollinator working group. We meet twice a year with different people from the city just to kind of go over our action plan for the year, and to, I guess, at the end of the year, kind of just take in what we've done throughout the year. We also did a pollinator Commute planting at the 2019 Navarro Fest. It's a couple years ago now. We updated our grass and weeds bylaw, so now you can grow pollinator gardens on your lawn, which is great. And then our pollinator webpage goes live. And so last year, we did distribute 200 free plant kits, and that was part of the Flight of the Monarch celebration. It was a big thing last year. Some other highlights that we have done throughout the years is every year we do make a Pollinator Week proclamation. This usually happens in the 3rd week of June. We distribute wildflower kits to the Healthy Arts program, and these kits also have milkweed species and other pollinator-friendly species. I think there's bergamot, which is great for bees. And then we also offer in-person and online pollinator-oriented workshops and webinars. And the logos at the bottom there are just some of the partners that we've done, or kind of the programs that we offer. The last thing I'll be talking about today is Richmond Hill Blooms. This is something I'm growing to becoming more familiar with since coming on the team. So basically, Richmond Hill Blooms is an annual program that's been happening for over 10 years now, where residents can nominate gardens for recognition and awards. So, you know, when I say residents, I mean you could even nominate your own garden. You can nominate your neighbors or friends or family, anyone in Richmond Hill, and it's a pretty popular program. We have approximately 1,300 properties each year, and there's lots of benefits to this program, such as, you know, people can spend more time outdoors. You can nationalize your properties and introduce native and pollinator species. And in our current times, it's just something to do, you know, at home, being outside, and you can spend time with your family. We typically have an annual gala where we present winning gardens, and we actually have awards, and there's an award ceremony, and we have a special guest speaker that comes in, and usually it's horticultural related, and there's also yummy food and also booths as well. So what can you do? So you can get involved in stewardship events. I know right now it's a little bit tricky just because of how things are, but definitely double check our website to see what opportunities we have. You can create pollinator habitat at home. So, you know, just planting some simple species to create, you know, some habitat for butterflies and bees, or even leaving extra leaf litter in the fall on the floor that create some good habitat for these solitary bees. You can start to grow your own vegetables at home. So you can start small. I just started last year in a couple of containers, and this year I've decided to upgrade and I built myself a garden box. So now I have a raised garden box in the backyard. But obviously, if you don't have the space or if it's too shady in your backyard, you can also join or start your own community garden. And we actually do accept applications to start your own community garden, and we help with, creating that. You can also build your dream garden and get nominated for Richmond Hill Blooms and maybe even win a prize. And also you can attend our educational webinars. All right, so that's everything for today. The links I was talking about before are right there on the screen. So we have the tree planting, which is good for community stewardship events, community gardens, we have pollinator page, and then the Richmond Hill Blooms page. All right, thank you.
Hey, thank you, Krista, for all that. Again, lots of great information there and some really good initiatives that I think the community should be proud of. There's lots of good progress there, and I think more to come. I do see we're past our 8:30 time frame. I apologize for that if anyone needs to go. I'm just going to finish with two quick things here. Krista, if you are still there, if you don't mind replying to, there's a question about Phyllis Rawlinson Garden. I think you can type in the question if you see that, or type in the answer, sorry, unless you can answer it.
Yes, I'm just trying to look for it, scrolling up.
Okay, it should be in there. For everyone else, if you can spare 3 more minutes, we have our last video clip from a youth group from, it's the Bayview Secondary School Eco Team. And they've also done, I think, a pretty cool project involving Instagram and getting the word out to their peers through Instagram. So I'll play that now and then very briefly conclude. I think we'll have to do our draw prize after this, and I'll just send everybody an email to let you know who won. But so if you will bear with me, I'll share this screen here and get this final presentation going.
Hi there, my name's Kara.
And I'm Sophia, and we are both seniors at Bayview Secondary School, and we are on the Eco team, which alongside with our other members, we organize the Eco Speaker Series.
We noticed that students at our school were often confused as to what direction they wanted to take their post-secondary studies in. A lot of us on Eco Team are considering future careers in sustainability and the environment. However, we as well were confused as to what these future career prospects were, what they entailed, and the areas of study for post-secondary school that we need to focus in to get closer to our dream jobs. So to solve this issue, we launched Eco Speaks, which is an initiative that featured community members, municipal staff, as well as researchers. And we just invited them in to talk about their careers in sustainability and how they got there. We started this off by just reaching out to a variety of speakers ranging from those who work in policy to advocacy to even management. And this wide-ranging speaker panel really gave students a full encompassing view of where they could take their interest in environmental sustainability in the future. To reach our audience, we found that Instagram was the most effective. So what we did was we gave our speakers access to our team's Instagram page where they could post videos on our story about their studies and their job, as well as host a live question and answer session.
Hi everyone, I am Krista Lynn. I'm the Natural Environment Analyst at the City of Richmond Hill, taking over the Eco Team's Instagram account today. I'm here to talk a bit about what I do for the city and how I got to where I am today.
Good morning, I'm William Withers, Water Resources Coordinator for the City of Richmond Hill. Looking forward to taking over Bayview Secondary's Eco Team Instagram account today. I'll tell you a little bit about my career path and show you what I currently do at my position at the City of Richmond Hill.
And what we found was the most effective was when the speakers would give an unfiltered walkthrough of their daily lives, as this method gave the most authentic view of what a career in their area of concentration looked like.
I'm back. How did I launch my own nonprofit? So that is a long story.
I thought that it'd be pretty exciting to be a part of that. So I decided to apply, and I was ultimately successful in getting the job.
When I was in high school, I actually didn't even know there was a way to study environmental studies in university. I was studying 6 languages at the same time, which I wouldn't recommend for anyone. It's a lot. I was convinced that
To top it off, we got some feedback from students, and the majority of them commented on how they enjoyed the informal videos as well as the opportunity to ask questions, as it made the takeovers feel a little bit more personalized.
So we have kept all the speaker series videos still available on our page through our highlights so that students can continue to have access to them and continue to learn about the different opportunities in the environmental career sector. And also in the future, we do plan on working with more speakers really to diversify and provide different career pathways to the students at Baby Secondary School. However, we didn't just ask our speakers to just talk about their careers. We also wanted them to talk about the day-to-day problems that they do face with the environment or that the environment faces. For instance, our climate change, our water reservoirs, the problems with that, and the different problems that go on in our local community as well as in the world, and how students can be educated on this so that they are aware if they don't want to pursue a career in the environmental sector, still as an individual, they can be mindful about the problems that are going on in our planet.
So overall, we found this initiative extremely successful, helping over 600 students at our school get a deeper understanding of where they can take their interest in environmental sustainability in the future.
But in any case, I think we do have to end it there. It's almost 8:45, and I know I said 8:30, so apologies for going over. Clearly, we have a lot of good things going on to share. So I really do appreciate the panelists and the attendees for being part of this tonight. I think we'll close it there unless there are any urgent comments or questions from anybody. But if not, then I'm going to say thank you. And as mentioned, we do have a draw prize. I will do that after closing this Zoom webinar, and we'll send an email to everyone to let you know who won. As well, we'll be following up with all the tips that people mentioned tonight, all the different actions that you can do to help us become a more sustainable community. I'll be sharing kind of a one-pager, as well as some of the links and the contact information that came up tonight. So once again, much appreciated for you to join us tonight. I hope you have learned something. I hope you can take something away on this Earth Day to continue helping to make our city more sustainable. So thank you, and I'll leave it there. Have a great night.
Happy Earth Day.
Thank you, everyone.